It is now 6:02. I'm calling the meeting to order on March 11th, 2024 for our special board meeting. I'm going to begin with our ethics statement. Conflict of interest reminder per NCGS 138A-15E. Board members are reminded that it is our duty to avoid conflicts of interest and the appearance of conflicts of interest as we handle the work of this board. Does any member of the board know of any conflict of interest or any appearance of conflict with respect to any matters coming before us at the meeting? If so, please state them for the record. Hearing none, if during the course of the meeting you become aware of an actual or apparent conflict of interest, please bring the matter to the attention of the meeting chair, and it will be your duty to abstain from participating in discussion on the matter and from voting on the matter. And I'm going to go ahead and call the roll to establish a quorum. Let's see, Paul is not here. Jane is not here. I am here. Jason?
Here.
Jeremy?
Here.
Lindsay?
Here.
Benji?
Here.
Okay. We have a quorum. Let's see. So we'll go ahead and get started. The only item on the agenda tonight is the contract for the refinishing of the gymnasium floor. And I know that Jason put in the special meeting folder the
3 quotes.
proposals.
Yeah.
Yes. And so, Jason, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to turn it over to you or Dr. Blackwell and let you talk to us about the proposals.
All right. Dr. Blackwell, since she's on the road, we talked, and I'm going to head us up here. So
okay.
Appreciate y'all getting together quickly. And the reason we needed to get together a week earlier was because the flooring companies are on very tight schedules. And if we do not get on their calendar, we could miss out on all of them this year. They're filling up their last slots. And if we don't get on their calendar this year, there will be a significant cost increase if we wait another year to get on there. So we did some due diligence and got 3 quotes. Those, as I said, were in the folder we put out there. These quotes will be to put a wood floor all the way from bleachers to bleachers and from end zone to the stage, from the front doors to the stage. Once you go past the stage, there will have to be some ramping that's done that will take it down into the back of the locker room. But this is to redo the complete floor surface. And like I said, we got the 3 quotes. The finance committee met last Friday. We talked extensively about these. The recommendation was to bring to the big board that we go with the middle quote, which is J&J Floors, for that one. And if we cannot if they end up booking out to go ahead and approve a second choice to talk to Foster's. And with that, I will open up for questions with the group here.
I had a question about, so the first quote, the SCS by Floor Action, and then the third quote, J&J Floors, they were just sort of here's what we do and here's the price. But the middle quote had sort of these options. So to me, it was not clear, like comparing apples to apples, which one of those quotes by Foster would be comparable to what the other 2 folks quoted.
Gotcha. And that's a very good question. So the option 1, we started this process not thinking we could do the under the bleachers all the way to the complete wood floor on the playing surface. We started out thinking it was only going to be kind of where the existing flooring is to take the wood out to there and then ramp down throughout the rest of the gym. I think Foster's came in and said, hey, well, wait a minute. We can go ahead and quote you on all the options that you would have, which then prompted us to go back to J&J and Floor Action to get updated quotes from then on what an entire wood floor would be. I think that's the order of operations on that. So, Melissa, again, if I'm off a little bit on this, let me know and correct me. But that was my understanding on things. So the option 3 would be for Foster would be the closest, would be the copy of the other 2 quotes.
That's my understanding, Jason.
Okay. And then just so you're aware, I mean, some of the work J&J has done, J&J has been kind of the steady company that's come out and give us quotes in the past. I think they've done work at Triple S. I know Floor Action has done the North Duplin floor, and Foster's has done, and the Wilson company had also done some work at Barton College. And Foster's current floor, or Barton's current floor, was done by Foster Specialty Floors. So we do have some familiarity reference-wise with all 3 companies.
Have we used either of these before, any of these companies before?
It is Melissa, I can't remember if we've actually used J&J or if they've just come out and given us quotes. They may have done the original floor that's there.
I don't know who did the original floor. I know that J&J have come out multiple times to give quotes for this process, but we've never closed the loop with it.
But they have done work at Triple S, correct?
Yes.
And some other Johnson County Public Schools, I think you said, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So what is the difference between the SCS Floor Action and the J&J floors?
I mean, just there's a little bit of price difference in there. J&J is a little more expensive, but I think throughout the bidding process, there was, sometimes in that process that you pay attention to who you've got better references for and who is more attentive throughout the process. And I think Foster and J&J gave us quotes and were asking lots of questions and very attentive. Floor Action, it took a little bit for them to get us a quote, and then it was the cheapest one. So again, we're trying to be good stewards of the school's money. We decided to opt with the other 2 as an option, with the middle quote being the first choice.
And when would they be able to do the floor?
J&J would have to start, like, I think it's the week after graduation, which is why we're on a time crunch. And so for him to be able to order, again, that's why we had to call this meeting, is that he would have to order the materials. He needed to order them yesterday, I think was the quote that was told to me, to make sure everything's here on time to get it done. And that's his only opening this summer.
And what about the other 2 companies? Was there a time frame given for those?
I know that they had openings, but I do not know the exact dates on those openings. But since the finance committee recommended J&J and that was their only time frame, we wanted to act quickly. And there's a pretty significant price difference, if y'all see, between Foster's and J&J.
Mm-hmm.
All good questions. Anything else to ask Finance Committee? Jeremy, anything I've missed?
No, I mean, we talked about it in detail on Friday.
Yeah.
And so just to make sure I'm clear, so the recommendation of the Finance Committee is to go with J&J floors.
I would prefer that if the motion be made that we first choice would be J&J, and if they are taken, that we then move forward with Foster.
I agree with I agree with Jason on that.
I guess I just have a hard time reconciling that we would choose to go with Foster's. That's quite significantly more than what Floor Action quoted. I mean, I hear you that it seems like they were more difficult to deal with, but that's quite a big price difference.
There is, and there's also some that I think there was one individual that somebody spoke with that has used Floor Action and said here's the quote, here's the price quote, and then they will come back and say they'll put in some change orders on things like, well, we didn't account for this. So this is, if you want this done, it's going to be another 6,000 here, or here's another 6,000 here, and before you know it, you're at or higher than the other quotes. That's the only reason. Like again, we go by references, and we go by, again, the finance committee tried to weigh all that stuff in and make the best choice. It's the old adage, you get what you pay for.
One thing I do like about the J&J quote is that they list everything out equal, like as far as line items, and they itemize everything. The other thing I noticed is Lindsay, I had those same kind of questions, and I was just sitting here, I was looking. The other thing I noticed that in both the Foster and the J&J quote, there is specifics about the ADA ramp. And I don't know how significant that is to the project. I just recognize that those are specifically listed out in both Foster and J&J. I do not see that listed out in the
Floor action.
Floor action.
And that, y'all, that is very significant. And that is one of the reasons the finance committee felt like it was a good idea to go ahead and do the full floor, because even when you put in those ADA ramps, there's such tripping hazards. If you don't have a kind of that uniform consistency all the way across, folks will be trying to walk in on a slant to the bleachers, and it could make for a very sticky situation. And for the cost difference, we felt like it would be more cost effective to go ahead and do the whole thing and keep the liability down. And you're right, those ramps aren't on there, so that would probably be an upcharge, I would assume.
And also the floor action quote doesn't include that I saw any removal of the existing floor.
Yeah, it said remove bleachers.
But it doesn't talk about removing the existing floor, which was a $6,000 charge on the other two charges.
I'm looking back over it.
And I know Josh had mentioned it was an additional charge to remove the floor, which the other two included.
It was an additional charge to remove the floor. Is that what you said?
Yes.
And will that include them disposing of the floor? Because removing and disposal doesn't necessarily mean the same thing.
It is my understanding with J&J and Foster's that is the case. Again, there's a little more fuzzy on floor action. Also, we also need to approve, Michelle, on any motion made, that approve it to be spent from the reserve funds if needed. I forgot about that.
Okay. So would all of this come from the reserve funds, or?
Jeremy?
Or
help me recall on that.
So Amanda said that she would try to use current funds.
Yeah, that's right.
As much as possible.
Okay.
And anything that would be needed in excess would come out of reserve funds.
Yes. If needed.
If needed, correct.
Is there any difference in the type of wood that's used between
That's funny. I asked the same question on that. So that
J&J and the floor action? I see it's kind of listed out on the Foster. It gives you two different grades. You've got the maple,
two different
one maple and another maple, I guess.
So I think they're both with Foster. I think it's both grade of maple. It's the extent of the work that they're doing. So the option 2 doesn't include all the way to the walls. And once we realized that the bleachers, and how it was explained to us was that the bleachers, the wheels are, and I'm sorry, my lights just went out. So the wheels are on the floor level. So if they don't go all the way to the wall, then there's going to be a difference in the way the wheels hit and bump against the floor. So so what they have to do is actually take the bleachers and raise them up enough to compensate for the floor that's underneath. Well, in order to do that, there are metal beams at the ceiling. So they have to actually rework the bleachers to fit underneath the flooring. And Foster's and J&J both have brought in, or have I don't know what I'm trying to say, but in their quotes they've determined how they're going to fix it. So they'll take the bleachers and fix them and bring them up 2 inches or an inch to accommodate the floor that goes underneath the wheels, so that the 1 or 2 times a year that we actually push because if not, when we push the bleachers back the 1 or 2 times a year that we actually do it, it's going to drop down and look weird.
And it becomes tripping hazards. And then when they're trying to do PE classes in there or do stuff, it's just not a great thing to have liability wise, is what I'll say.
And otherwise, you're going to have from the playing floor to the bleachers, you're going to have a little bit of a slant like this. And when people are walking, they're actually walking at a slant, which is, again, another liability hazard.
And then also the other thing that I found fascinating through this process, y'all, and this is not anything dependent on how we vote for this, but the one thing that I had not thought about is that you're adding 2 or 3 inches on the floor. So the goals have to be adjusted as well.
Correct.
2 or 3 inches up, and all these companies will do that as well.
So I had another clarification question off of the Foster's quote. They sort of have these options for Maple. Are those upgrades? So like is the quote that they have, like, so option 3, the 156,769, is that just with some other wood? And then if you want one of these other 2, it would be plus 6,000 or plus 12,000. Is that accurate?
Let's see here. I'm looking down there. Yes, I do believe that is an upgrade in wood on those other options down there.
And so do we know
BTR maple and grade maple again? And then if you will look on the, what is it? I think J&J doesn't actually have the word maple in there, but if you look on the Foster quote and the floor action, it says the 25-30 seconds by 2 1/4 second on that one. That is the same numbers that are referenced in the other 2 quotes. But yeah, if you upgrade to different maples, there's a higher grade maple on those Foster floors that are more expensive. That again, any of these are better than what we have currently, which is not real wood and not real cushioned.
I noticed that on one of them it has apply 2 on the floor action, apply 2 more coats of gym floor finish, and is that also covered under the J&J floors?
Let's see here.
It doesn't really say how many coats.
Sand and refinish. It does not say that, does it?
No, and it specifically says that any extra staining any additional staining logos, I'm not sure what CTS means, would be extra.
On the J&J one?
Yeah, but we've got the logo painted is an additional cost under there.
Well, and I think all of them, that's like,
yeah,
you're going to have to pay for the logos. And again, another thing you don't think about when you're going through this process is that the volleyball, like you got to have the cutouts for the volleyball nets and the different lines painted for that. And there's there's a lot of, yeah. So all that in there. The coating wise, I don't know if there's how many coats the J&J one includes versus the other two, but it's pretty standard. I don't know if to be perfectly frank, as a former basketball coach and high school teacher, I don't know that it matters how many coats you put on there. After 5 years worth of wear and tear, you got to go in there and they sand it all the way down and put more coats back on there again. So there is, I don't know that we can definitely ask if how many coats that includes, but I don't want us to miss the opportunity to choose one and move forward with it on that question, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the J&J quote does include a logo painted. If you look at the line items below the original quote,
Yeah,
it does say logo painted, 2-color and 12-foot.
yeah, they're all included. The paint is what I meant. Sorry if I didn't say that right. Either broken out or included in the top. They're all including paint, logos, whatever we give them from a PNG file wise or JPEG file, whatever they can print. They paint off of whatever we give them for logo and lines, and that's all included.
Lindsay, to answer your question, CTS is courts.
Oh yeah, thanks, Brad.
And I'm sorry, I just have one more thing to clarify because I know I asked this earlier, but I knew I had seen it. So it says on the J&J quote, J&J floors, it says remove existing floor. I think that's what it's supposed to say. Remove existing floor, and then it says place outside. So are they just going to sit it outside and we dispose of it, or are they going to dispose of it?
And which one did you say this was? J&J's?
J&J. It's the very bottom of the page.
Item 016.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it says remove exciting floor, but
Right, but I think they did. But it could be exciting too.
Well, I will say this.
Sorry.
Sorry, I was going to say, Josh. I know Josh had to go back and talk to them and have this line added, and so he doesn't have the ability. He did not have time to prep and get rid of it. But I'm assuming a lot here, but I'm assuming that he knows that if we're placing outside, that he's going to take care of the disposal. And Melissa, if you're still on, maybe you can speak to that.
I'm here. I feel pretty certain that Josh
Yeah.
would take care of that if that's what the understanding is.
Yeah. That he's going to take care of the disposal of it. They're taking care of the demolition inside, which is something he does not have time to do, but he can take care of hauling it off.
Yeah.
All right.
okay.
We have done some due diligence. I know that.
Thank y'all for looking at that.
Oh,
I
thank you
know
all for the questions.
Paul just came on. Paul, did you have any questions?
No, I did not.
All righty. Anything else before we call for a vote?
Michelle, you muted.
I know. I was telling them I was in a meeting. Everybody just kind of came in all at one time. I'm like, okay, so I think that has been all of the discussion. So I will. It's been the Finance Committee's recommendation that we approve and go with J&J Floors Incorporated. It looks like this quote is dated March the 8th. So I will entertain a motion.
Hold on, Michelle.
Mhm.
Remember, we want to move to choose J&J, and if not, if they are unavailable, to move forward with seeking a date for Foster's.
Is there a specific one that we wanted to,
The finance committee's oversight committee's recommendation was to choose J&J first and have Foster's as a backup.
okay,
And then also we do need to approve to spend from reserve funds for all of it if necessary.
okay. So the recommendation,
Since I'm so good at forming motions, I'll let you do that one, Michelle. So, it's a running joke.
so the recommendation from the finance committee is that we go with J&J Floor quote dated March the 8th. If they are unavailable, and by unavailable, not able to do it prior to the 24-25 school year. Okay. And then if they are not available to do it before the 24-25 school year, then to go with option 3. Is that correct? For the Foster,
Yes.
Foster specialty floors, and the funding to pull from the reserve funds as needed.
Yes.
And I would clarify which level of wood for the Foster's option 3. I would say, I mean, I would guess it would be the base model, not the one of the upgrades.
Not the upgrade.
Yes.
Yes.
Lindsay, you want to make this motion?
Lindsay, just say so moved on what she said.
Yes,
Right?
so moved.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. The motion being to approve J&J Floors Incorporated with their quote dated March the 8th, 2024. If they're unable to do so prior to the 24-25 school year, then to go with the option 3 base model without the upgraded floors. And the funding would come from reserve funds as needed. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion before we vote? Okay, so I will go by roll call. Paul?
Yay.
Jason?
Yes.
Jeremy?
Aye.
Lindsay?
Yes.
Benji?
Aye.
And I will vote aye as well. Motion carries. So the motion passes, and I believe that is all that is on our agenda for this evening. So since we have finished all of our set business for this evening, it is 6:29. I told you it would last no more than 30 minutes. And I have come in under. Meeting is adjourned.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.